So number 6 is talking about K, the constant of variation, or you could have said the constant of proportionality. I think there are 2 names for it. Number 18, you see the scatter plot and the superimposed regression line. This is your equation. Could you have written it with a Y? Correct? Yeah, they told you S and T. So S took the place of Y, T took the place of X. And letter D, you were supposed to plug in X or T is 27 because it was 27 years past their starting point. I think they started at 1990. Is that right?
1995.
Oh, 95. Wait, was 1995 5 though? Yeah. Okay, so then I'm thinking of what was 0. But their first point, you're right, was 1995. But the year 0 was 1990. Plug and chug, you had to label it millions. If you didn't, change that. Because it was in millions of dollars, not just $1,300 for, was this Broadway? Yeah, not just $1,300 for Broadway. It's a lot more than that. And that seems like, for letter E, the interpretation of the slope, which is 40.6, is each year that goes by, it seems like the ticket sales go up 40.6 million. That's the interpretation of this slope guy. But hopefully calculator worksheet number 2 helped you a bit on this problem. Let's move on, because that wasn't the point of 110. The point was all the variation-y stuff. So number 50, check your translation. Did you do it right? Directly proportional, or I should say jointly proportional to M1, M2, inversely proportional to the square of R. To the square of R. Number 62. This one took a little bit longer. Because not only did you have to get your model, let me go up a little bit. Not only did you have to get your model, but you had to plug in your clues to solve for K and then putting it in. Here's where it gets a little awkward. They went from decimals to a fraction, which is weird. Makes sense, but weird. If you guys kept it in decimals, I don't mind. Did anybody get a decimal? I think it's like 0.08. Yeah, I think that sounds right. If you did that, sorry, that's a Q. Oh, it's getting worse. PQ over S squared. If you did that, that's okay. That's right. But what in your calculator, what buttons would help you change this to a fraction if you were trying to check and see if it was the same? Yeah, but how do you do that with your calculator? Do you remember? Math, good. And then, isn't it like the very first one, frac? Isn't that it? Like a little arrow or something? I think it's right away, math enter. So that could have gotten you, it does come up with 24 over 287. We figured that out in honors. We good? No way. Oh, I totally took away all the hard problems for you guys. That's right, I made it shorter. Oh, I did. There were some nasty ones beyond that. That honors had to have fun with. I'm not saying there weren't any nasty ones. Sorry, I'm not trying to belittle your existence. Let's come back. Your experience, I should say. Experience. I'm not belittling your existence either. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. Do you have any questions on odds or evens? Yeah, Jason.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, but the dogmas of log and the existence of Zach and Cody, it needs to be
that one needs to be? Okay. I don't know who wrote this after school yesterday, so I have no idea whose opinion that was. Technically, to be honest, I wasn't watching Disney shows during this time. No, I did watch Sweet Life. On deck, though, I didn't really do. I was in college. It was something light and fluffy. I was watching Hannah Montana. I had a room. It's not Disney? Well, that doesn't count. Oh. Oh, it depends on the version, but you're right. You're right, depending on the version. And I think it's King James where there's the 2 before. For to me to live is Christ. Yeah, they took out the 2 in the ESV. I think in NASB they take out the 2 also. But the handwriting, though. The handwriting. Kathleen Wing. Okay, coming back. Let's come back to the homework, though. I should have just erased all that, but they were having fun this morning. Anyway, coming back. Any questions about homework? Yeah, let's go peek at it. Number 49, logistic growth. Ooh, this is good. We'll talk about him some other day in another chapter. Okay, I mean, not the problem. Logistic growth is a really practical thing dealing with like disease, dealing with like population growth and decay, and anyway, let's come back. Logistic growth, the rate of growth R of a population is, what are our key words, guys? So we have this, jointly proportional to size and difference. There's a lot of words in this one, huh? Okay, so who's our Y? Let's start there. Rate. Jointly. Jointly. Isn't that, Lauren, focus. Jointly. Isn't that one of these guys? Like K times times? I don't see it inversely anywhere, right? I don't think it's K divided by, and jointly means there's more than one. So what is it jointly proportional to? What's one thing? Size. Difference, that's a math word. Subtraction. What are we subtracting? S and, is that L? I just totally marked it out. Was it L? Dun, 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 dun. Weird though. Jointly proportional K times what and what? Size of the population S and the difference, math term, subtraction between S and the maximum population L. Yeah. Good thing is we don't have to plug in stuff for that one. Jason.
I switched the L and the S, which were subtracted.
Ooh. Yes. Barely wrong, like barely wrong, but yeah. Whenever you're talking in math about sums, I mean, sum doesn't matter, right? Addition is commutative. But with subtraction, difference between, it's always the first quantity is subtracted the second quantity. Unless the word from is in there. If it's saying something like a quantity is taken from, then you can figure out who was first, who was second. But difference between, yeah, first minus second. Okay. Any other questions you guys want to ask on homework, evens or odds? Huh. Well, that's not bad. Let's talk about the test tomorrow, yeah? You guys have turned in your homework spirals to your review. Have it ready to go. Majority of class is just going to be you guys practicing on those problems. But for the test tomorrow, didn't we just talk about how there are not very many problems on the review? Okay, we'll struggle. If there are not very many problems on the review, and for some of you, your brain doesn't work well going back as far as preparing for a test, going back and looking at things you've already done. Why is that dangerous? Well, Chapter 1A review you already did. Now, the corrections, I think, helped, because the corrections you were thinking through problems again, and you were reviewing, remembering. What were two problems that were not required on the quiz that maybe you should review? The quiz, sorry, the Chapter 1A test. What were two problems that weren't? Oh, that was honors. Sorry, never mind. Never mind, they were all required. You're good. What was the bonus on the test? Okay, but I think domain and range showed up somewhere else on the test also, right? Okay. It was piecewise, and it was a graph, so it was kind of funny the how left, how right, how low, how high. So the bonus might be something that some of you guys just totally ignored that you might want to think about a little bit longer, domain and range. We're going to go about topics on the test, etc. But first of all, I actually want to take you guys to my website. With this whole problem of not having tons of practice problems for me this time. Now, in your book, there is something called a chapter test that's right after the chapter review. Where is that? That's down here somewhere. There's those terms. There's the review. So there are, number one, more problems in the book itself that you could just play with the odds. Play with the odds and see how it goes. However, check out my website. Check out Precalc. Check out helpful links. Do you guys see that our textbook has a site? Has something to do with CalcChat. You guys go to CalcChat, and that does have to do with our textbook. But if you go to the textbook site, I want to draw your attention to something else. On the site, do you see this little thing called pre and post tests? Pre and post test. We can actually go to Chapter 1 and do a pre-test where you have generated from the people that made our very book, multiple choice questions. You can choose how many you want to try, and at the end you can grade it and see how you did. And then have some new problems to try to figure out the right answers to if you got them wrong. And if you're like, I don't want to do a whole test, I don't have time for a whole test, you can just do a few of them. Like, I'm going to practice this one, this one, this one. It's just going to grade those ones. Maybe it'll grade the rest, but it won't really mean anything to you. But you can try some practice multiple choice questions online. A few people last year really found this helpful and did it almost every test. Oh, you're okay. tinyurl.com. Oh, the textbook site. So here's our class shared folder. You guys already know about that one with the PDFs and the homework pages. Online textbook, that's the first 3 chapters. And then it's the textbook site. And as soon as you go there, pre and post tests, and you have some practice multiple choice questions. So are there more problems you can practice with? Definitely. Okay, to that end, let's go ahead and come back to the chapter review that you guys are supposed to be working on. Where is it? Here we go. I'm going to set you loose as soon as I talk about the test. All right, the test. Very similar in length to chapter 1A. But chapter 1B has some longer problems that might slow you down a little bit. So some of you need to strategize. Is there any way that I could have gone faster or been more efficient with my time? Did anybody find themselves getting stuck on and like camping out on any problems on chapter 1A? Okay, we need to realize that in chapter 1B. And as soon as you're like, wait, I'm getting stuck, you got to move on. Come back if you can. Maybe at least make a guess if it's multiple choice. Did any of you guys on chapter 1A realize that long answers are a weakness? Yeah. So you need to think through the following possible long answer topics. You might want to write them down. Difference quotient. Difference quotient, section 1.5. Finding inverse functions. And talking about invertible. Finding inverse functions and talking about invertible. That's section 1.9, right? Transformations of functions. Section 1.7. Compositions, I should say, of functions. Section 1.8. Compositions of functions from 1.8. And the last possible long topic would be word problems from 1.10, where you translate, you plug in, solve for K, use it. I would say those are your small list of possible long answer topics, and some of you need to go back and review and say, would I be ready to solve this thing totally by myself? When you guys were doing corrections on chapter 1A, did anybody find a weakness in vocabulary? Like they didn't know what the question was asking for? Okay, if you're struggling with vocabulary, you're going to want tonight to look and actually study the wording of directions in homework and reviews. You're going to want to study the directions in the sense of, okay, they asked me this, look at what you did. Or in class, look at the directions to our examples and say, do I know if I'm given this phrase to find the domain, how left, how right, to find the range, how low, how high. Inverse functions, switch x and y, solve for y. You have to actually go through your notes and look for the vocabulary that might show up. Ooh, direct variation, inverse variation, joint variation. Those are definitely vocab things that you should keep an eye out for. Let's go through some main topics from chapter 1A, because chapter 1B you guys will get to practice, I'm pretty sure, pretty well in the review. Chapter 1A, just in general, multiple choice, long answer, all the above. What are some good things to study? Domain problems. Domain problems. Intercepts. It's so easy, but if you don't remember which is which, it'll be sad. Domain problems, intercepts, symmetry. Once again, easy, but you might need to study. Function notation, f of x. Have we practiced that in chapter 1b? Doing of? Yeah, I think we've done it a lot, right? Like section 1.8 though made it harder with the pluses and the minuses and the weird notation. So I would definitely study, I know this is chapter 1b, but function notation, the plugging in, We introduced it in chapter 1A, but we got intense in chapter 1B. So function notation for sure, for sure. Anything else big time from chapter 1A? Oh, difference quotient. We already mentioned that for the long answers. Difference quotient is a good one. Maybe increasing, decreasing. I don't think that's a big topic, but it might show up once. Interval notation we've had to use since chapter 1A. I think that those are the main topics from chapter 1A. But you guys might also want to think about what things you had to correct on your test and just keeping an eye open. With that, kiddos, that brings us to chapter 1B, where we had parent functions 1.6, transformations 1.7, combinations, compositions 1.8, inverses 1.9, word problems 1.10. Let's practice. And if you guys have any questions, I'm just going to be meandering around the room, or you can reach out to people in your group, or if there's someone in the class that you work better with, like a friend or you guys will study with later, you can move around the room. I don't mind. You don't have to be stuck to your chair. Get a place in the next 60 seconds where you're going to work on your review. And then just bust out as much as you can and ask me questions along the way if your friends, people around you don't know the answers. If you're going to move, move. You have 60 seconds. If you're going to move, move now. If you're going to move, move now. Wesley, let me have you move next to Chris. That way you just have someone close just in case. Salma, let me have you move back one just so you're close if you need to ask anything. And then Ariman, I'm going to have you move you right here. That way at least you're not like all alone. And otherwise everyone's close to someone, right? Joe, you can reach out in front to me. Okay, having notes open is a great way to do reviews, but if you're referring to something in your notes to do a problem, shouldn't you be highlighting that puppy as in like, I need to know this for tomorrow? If you go into your notes to review something, highlight it because you needed it to do the problem. All right, feel free to talk, guys, as long as you're getting work done. So